Recently, I did a pretty big series of 144 paintings. They were 6 inches by 6 inches. Half of them were animals fighting and half of them were animals fucking. So I was kind of interested in perception of kind of base actions and getting down to primal kind of things. I used to draw the interiors of strip bars and really dirty pubs, and I was kind of enamored by this atmosphere where people were kind of intentionally getting blasted and trying to kind of, everything was kind of, you know, it evens out the emotional scale, everything's heightened and it's this crazy atmosphere. So then moving on to like kind of people trying to reconnect with nature and get back to animalistic kind of things, you know, sex and fighting, it's not a lot of complexity there. It's pretty, it's pretty base. So I think I've always been kind of interested in how we're attracted to that, but how we are also really trying to control that part of ourselves. Practicality was a kind of a big thing when I was living in Japan. I had just come from studying at UBC where I had my own studio and could use smelly things like oils, and living in a really tiny apartment brought me back to watercolor pretty quickly, and sketching and kind of exploring smaller ways of making work and kind of tighter, more clean ways of making work. So that definitely shaped something, and the aesthetic, you know, everything's a little bit more pared down, economy of line, simplicity is something that I kind of gravitated towards, and it was a big part of why I decided to go into design as well. Everything's so design-centric there. It's either really amazingly beautifully designed or really crazy busy, but it's all very considered, so that was something that drew me into design for sure. I just finished a piece for Gallery Fukai that's going to be in a show mid-April, and it's called Design 24, and it's an exhibit of designers and artists and designers working as artists and vice versa. So kind of the simplest and clearest way I could kind of come up with talking about how those two worlds merge for me was to take a selection of books off my bookshelf and just straight up illustrate those. So that kind of was the simplest and clearest way I could talk about those two worlds meeting, like all the research that I've done and how they kind of overlap and don't overlap, and then threw in some other books that are completely unrelated, just to, you know, things influence even though they don't really have any real connection. Hi, my name's Helen Eady and I'm a graphic designer and artist.